So, welcome to the very first episode of Talent Talks. My name is Anna Lynch, and I am a tech recruiter at Understanding Recruitment. We are trying in this podcast connect with leaders and decision makers who will help us to understand important issues regarding talent and recruitment space. I'm very glad to see that today I am visited by Stuart Hazell, the Global Director for Talent Brand and Marketing of Workday. So thank you very much, Stu, for joining me today. And would you be able to give me a very short, brief introduction about yourself and your background, please?
Yeah, sure. No, pleasure to be here, Anna. My name's Stu or Stuart. I've been in the employer brand space probably since about 2014, 15. So it's a good sort of 10 years plus. Initially started my career actually in the digital marketing space, but came into this niche in its infancy as an industry, really. I was part of an RPO where I was employed by a company called Allegis Global Solutions and was on site at my client CA Technologies. And then I developed my skill set there predominantly in this space, and then went on to IBM, where I led a significantly large team across the globe. Which was really, really interesting in terms of scale and size. And then I've been at Workday for the last 2.5 years, heading up the team here. I've absolutely loved the journey here in terms of building the employer brand really from scratch, to be honest. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. And as I say, before that was more in like traditional digital marketing, so come from a more marketing based background. Yeah,
I feel like it's great that we have you as a guest for the employer branding and how it's going to affect recruitment and talent in general. So my first question would be simply, if you could, in your own words, explain what it means for you employer branding and why it is important in talent engagement.
Yeah, so a lot of people, I mean, employer branding is it's a bit of a buzzword and kind of probably has been for a number of years now. I feel like that COVID had probably accelerated that a lot as well, in terms of people asking how did you treat your employees through the pandemic and that sort of thing. But in terms of like the actual words employer branding, there are many other words, kind of buzzwords kind of around it, like recruitment marketing and talent brand, and there's normally a lot of kind of weird debates online about what it actually is. I think for me, employer branding is in general is the perception of your brand as an employer. And we call ourselves a talent brand and marketing team. We own both the brand itself in terms of like how we go out to market and what we look like, what we sound like, what our brand feels like on different channels. And then we also do the recruitment marketing side of things as well. So the brand is kind of how you look, and the marketing is what actions do you want your audience to take, essentially, to engage with your brand, essentially. So for me, employer branding is more on like the actual brand inside rather than the marketing side. But a lot of people in this space do both. They do the marketing and the branding side. So, and a lot of people do the comms side as well. This is why we do candidate comms as well. So yeah, and we're normally the smallest marketing team in the company. It's quite funny that our scope is 360. Our teams are pretty small. But yeah, that's how I would summarize employer branding in a nutshell. But yeah, could kind of dive into that in a lot more detail, but I'm conscious of time.
I'm sure that we could probably just focus on one question like this and talk for hours, but probably if we can tailor this and incorporate how you would describe employer branding, and how would you incorporate it into candidate experience and hiring processes in the organizations?
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. Actually, even kind of the way I ended kind of answering the first question in terms of like candidate comms, like
Yeah.
making it's as basic as making sure like your tone of voice is on brand for the 99% of people you have to reject at application stage. How well is your brand showing up when you reject that candidate, whether it's from the recruiter owning that experience, and what guidance and branding and marketing collateral can you give them to support them with that experience for the candidate. But what are the automated ones that come out of an ATS or a CRM platform through things like email? I think it's about making sure that there's consistency in market from the brand that they see when they're finding out about you. What does your career site look like? If they're following you on social media, what are the types of posts are you putting up, and how are they engaging with your brand? And then when they come in as the candidate, how is that followed through, even to things like, are your interview rooms branded if you've got on-site interviews? Or it might even be Zoom backgrounds and things like that. This is all very psychological in that there's a continuation of the brand. So thinking about all those touch points, and we're doing a bit of work at the moment around talent value propositions. So a lot of people talk about employer or employee value propositions in terms of EVPs, and that's, what do you mean to everyone? What does your company stand for, essentially? What's your promise? Whereas the talent value proposition piece for us is diving into those segments of, well, what's it like to work at Workday for a salesperson or a consultant? These different skilled segment professional areas, and we're actually looking at the candidate journey for each one of them and saying, well, how does our brand continue across all of those journeys? It could be in things like if they're being assessed on something, or there's an engineering assessment that they've got to take. How is the brand continued in the way that that's presented and displayed to them, and even followed up as well? So yes, looking at that angle of brand continuation, communication, tone of voice, and then really picking those high touch point moments, and trying to prioritize making those as best as possible based on data as well. So looking at when candidates drop out of the process and going, is that a leaky process or a leaky experience for them there? How can we improve that through kind of our brand initiative? So again, always using data to pick and prioritize, because you can't do it all at once. It's a long journey, and a lot of times, again, EB teams are fairly small, so you've got to really pick and lean on your onboarding teams, lean on teams around you that support the journey as well. Lean on your TA teams, and partner with those as well to help support.
I really, really like your answer in not only how you show how collective effort it should be, but how large impact it has across everything. And I really like how you talked a lot about consistency, all based on the data you aggregate. And it's not just the idea you came up with and let's roll with it, but there is tangibles which can prove your journey is right. So I really, really like it. And how you guys go around collecting the data, I don't know how quickly you guys verify it, how you use technology for it as well, or tools, how you kind of deal with that as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot around that goes into even building the brand to start with. So we'll look at what our perception out is in market. There's tools out there that can help support you there. We're currently looking at like Link Human's employer brand index that helps kind of give us that external perception of how our brand is in market. We've also got internal tools as well, which provide us with employee sentiment. So we're able to hold a mirror up to ourselves and tell a really authentic story. We own the tool. It's a Workday tool. So Workday customers can use it, and it's called Peakon. And that's been invaluable to collect segmented data on internal. So you've got your data to back up who your brand is and how you should go to market based on internal and external data. And then in terms of the candidate experience and the journey, you've got, that top of funnel engagement, reach, impressions. They're the type of metrics that you would use to gauge how wide a catch your brand is hitting. And then it comes into source tracking and where the applications are coming from, looking at referral data. We're very proud that in the last fiscal year we had over 11,000 workmates refer at least one person to the company, and there's 18,500 of us. That's a big percentage of the workforce that would welcome colleagues to the organization, and that's a really strong metric to show that people believe in your employer brand and they believe in you as employer, and they want to bring people along because they're enjoying it themselves and they're fulfilled at work. So it's looking at metrics like that, and then obviously getting into the candidate journey piece. It's looking at drop-offs, it's looking at how long interview processes are taking and all of those types of things. Tooling will vary depending on what organizations you're in, but I would say that they're some of the key metrics, especially at the top of the funnel, where I tend to think like more employer brand talent kind of hang their hat and feel like that they can influence more. But we'll always support the TA ops teams, especially in things like hiring manager enablement, right, and making sure that you give a good experience at interview stage and you're on brand, and even the things like questions you're answering, like, is there anything around the values of the company or the employee value proposition that you've built that shows that this person is a fit and understands what the company is about and aligns on values and those types of things as well. So yeah, again, very, very big question. It's very hard to kind of summarize in totality, but that's kind of some of the key bits I would say that I'd consider.
Yeah, no, like, again, you've managed to cram so much valuable content in such a time well balanced answer. So really good, and I'm really impressed with the numbers you brought to it in sense of how much referrals comes on your own organization, which is, from the recruitment perspective, doing it day to day, I know how golden candidates those are, because referrals just not only it showcase how well you are treated in the organization, how much you're enjoying that, you will bring somebody along, but as well, because your organization, the people who you're recommending likely gonna be better match, and it can create more cohesive working environment and a smoother process, which should probably feed back into the wider metrics as you've mentioned. And like, how, maybe the only follow-up question would be, how frequently do you review this data, or whether you put yourself any KPIs, what you want to achieve on those metrics?
Yeah, so we're constantly looking at data to make decisions all the time. So it's quite interesting actually. Someone raised a point internally about, well, how can we keep these candidates warm once they get from interview stage to offer, and we were like, well, let's look at the kind of disposition reports and see where they're dropping off in the reporting. We actually found that there wasn't a huge issue there, and that we could be doing far more impactful employer brand and recruitment marketing work than creating collateral that would potentially keep candidates warm when there wasn't even an issue there. So I think as consultants in talent, brand and marketing, sometimes we can get asked the question on things, and that's absolutely fine. Rather than pleasing a stakeholder by just saying yes and doing it, like jump in and look at the metrics and see if it's a real problem. If they haven't in advance and shown you, and prove, because a lot of things can be perception. They could perceive that, maybe they've had a couple of people drop out and they think that that's going on across the rest of the organization. It's actually an isolated issue that isn't really needing to be resolved. So I think for me, we're constantly looking at data. We produce quarterly OKR reports. We have TA broadly wide KPIs, and even a couple of the TA OKRs for this year have actually gone up to our chief people HR officer in terms of what they want to achieve at a people department level as well. So there's visibility of what we need to achieve and what we want to do. We want to, reduce the amount of time it takes to hire the best talent out in market, and we're trying to do that as cost effectively as possible without losing experience or quality of candidate. So that's the same predominant goal for most organizations. It's the same game, and we've got plans in place to make sure that we're achieving and moving things in the right direction. And again, it's, as a talent brand, employer brand, recruitment marketing teams out there, like, look at those, speak the language of your C-suite, and know what the OKRs are of the business, and try and translate your impact into, quality, speed, and cost, and relate it back to the language your CFO's speaking, and even your chief marketing officer, and those senior leaders who, chief marketing officer might not realize that, do you know what, we've actually got two brands here. We've got a brand for our customers, but we've also got a brand here for our candidates as well. So all of this data and the way that you report it has got to be important in the way that it's displayed as well. So we're constantly looking at data, but we report quarterly on some metrics, and we report monthly on others. It's just depending on the pulse that we need to look at.
Sounds good. And probably just the last questions at you, maybe a bit kind of situational based. If there's any particular initiative you can maybe launched or brought into any of the team you work for, where you've seen an impact of enhancing employer branding in the recruitment space, what would be the one kind of maybe projects kind of sticks in your mind and you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, I think there's a few, but I think the EVP launch at Workday was a big one. We was in a position where we were very much using the corporate brand, and we launched our first ever employer value proposition in October 2022. And over that first year, up until October 2023, we looked at kind of the influence across candidate, career site, audience engagement, and workmate engagement as well. So some of the impacts over that first year, we saw our number of applications actually go up 107%. And the number of screens to hire was up 54%. Number of interviews to hire was up 18%. And we actually brought time to fill down by 3 days. Now, that doesn't sound a huge amount, but those 3 days accumulated to the number of hires we made meant that we gave back 11,000 days back to the business, which, you know, you can work out in terms of a cost saving there, should you wish you want to. And then audience engagement, on social, we had double-digit growth on engagement. So our LinkedIn engagement went up 90%. Instagram was up 50%. Twitter was up 150%. And probably the most proudest bit was our advertising spend. We, in that fiscal year after we launched, we were able to bring our spend down by 21%, but we saw our ad engagement up 119%. So we were spending less, but saw a huge amount more engagement because the brand was working, people were engaging with it, and we didn't have to, you know, when your brand is doing what it should be doing for you, things like cost per click and the amount that you need to spend on advertising should reduce. So those were some of the big metrics that I was really, really proud of. And we saw really great advocacy as well across the organization, including things like the referrals and those types of things. Career site traffic was up more than 20%. And we saw organic traffic growth as well on our career site by about 20% as well, which means more people were coming to find us off the back of their own action. They wanted to go onto Google and come and find us, which is fantastic. That shows that, you know, we're top of mind and that we're converting the right talent as well. So yeah,
That's, if there was any story to summarize importance of talent branding, I couldn't think of better one. And I feel like it, first of all, huge congratulations, because I didn't expect such a massive, impactful numbers here. So it's, again, I'm lost for words. So really, really impressive. And I feel like it's like Workday is a massive organization. So definitely there are resources. It's dedicated team, dedicated specialists like yourself to really drive it. But I think this short conversation can showcase so many smaller talent teams who don't have yet maybe isolated branding, employer branding team to the same extent, how much even partly focusing on it and how to incorporate it in your recruitment space, in your recruitment process, how much it can save you money, time, and actually makes experience for everyone much better. So that's really, really impressive.
100%. And yeah, to echo what you've just said there, Anna, like I think as well is like, just if you are a small team, just pick the things that are going to make the most impact and focus on those. I think there's a lot of nice to have things in marketing and brand, and a lot of people think we're the colouring in department. But if you can show that you're as data driven, that you're actually an operational team that is creative, like we're here for the business, you're going to build trust, you're going to get buy-in. And I think, again, it's just focusing on those big things, thinking about, you know, the candidate journey. What are your recruitment problem statements, and where as a team can you actually help those recruitment problem statements? That's so important. But yeah, we are normally the smallest, with the smallest budgets, the smallest resource. But as I say, we do comms, we do branding, we do marketing. It's like it's quite extensive in what these small and mighty teams can do. Yeah.
Really, really impressive. So I think there's no more questions because I don't think we can top it. So thank you very much, Stu. It was a pleasure to have you. No, massively appreciated. All
Thanks,
right.
Emma. Fantastic.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
All the best.
Cheers.